And it is another crazy night in the world of sports. It's been a crazy week. We got a lot of New York Jets to talk about. We're going to touch on the World Series, a little hockey, a little basketball, but it is Wednesday night. It is 10 p.m., and we're live. And well, welcome to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Y2K99. Thank you for joining me tonight for the Wednesday night live show. And we got a whole bunch of stuff that we want to get into tonight. There is a whole lot to talk about in the world of sports. We're going to spend a whole lot of time on the New York Jets because, hey, when I can see Jets fans here in the chat, that's what we're going to spend most of our time talking about. But before we get into gangrene, let's get into a few other things that are on my mind, and let's get it going with a little bit of 3 and out. So a little bit about the New York Knicks. They are wrapping up a loss in a back-to-back series with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Both road teams won. Knicks won in Cleveland Tuesday night, 109-91. And I got to tell you, the Knicks are looking worse by the day by not extending Emmanuel Quigley, by giving him a new contract. He has been looking great this season. 18 points last night on 6 of 11 shooting. Isaiah Hartenstein continues to emerge as a very good backup center. 13 points, 7 rebounds. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, 19 points apiece. But Cleveland was playing without Darius Garland, their starting guard, without Karis LeVert, and without Jared Allen. He's been out all season. So tonight at the Garden, they played again. Karis LeVert played, and boy, did he make a difference. Pretty much a back-breaking 3 in the last 2 minutes of the game. And as I'm recording this right now, there's about 10 seconds to go in the game. Cleveland's up. They're going to finish this one off. However, we do have breaking news. Mitchell Robinson has made 2 consecutive free throws. Oh, my goodness. What's going to happen next? Unbelievable. But if you want to know where the Knicks blew it in this game, it's really 2 things. They made, up until this point, 18 of 28 free throws, although those numbers are now different. But the worst number is up until the last, until Dante DiVincenzo made a late 3-pointer, they were shooting 4 of 29 from 3-point range. Unbelievable. Just 4 of 29. The Knicks missed, let's see, now we got the final stats in. The game just went final. So the Knicks missed 10 free throws. Cleveland only missed 1. They went 19 for 20 from the charity stripe. And those 2 stats are really what made the difference. So while the Knicks are a very talented team, you know what? I wonder how they're really doing on size at the power forward position behind Julius Randle. And then if you can't find a guard who's knocking their shots down, they're going to be in trouble. And free throws, I feel like as long as I've been a Knicks fan, this team has not shot free throws well. Oh, my gosh, going back to the Patrick Ewing days, these teams lost big games because of free throw difficulties. So, yeah, so that's got to change. But so that's what's going on with the Knicks. The New York Rangers, number 2 thing I want to talk about. Oh, my goodness. A 5-0 road trip out west, beating Seattle, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and Winnipeg. The first time in the history of the New York Rangers, almost 100 years, where they won 5 games in a row on the road on a single road trip. This team dealt with 11 straight nights out of the Eastern time zone. 2 overtime victories in Game 4 and Game number 5. Man, oh, man. Artemi Panarin looks great. He's got 15 points in 9 games. I swear, the way Panarin's playing right now, the whole team should shave their heads bald. Oh, my goodness. Panarin looks fantastic. And so a couple of other stats. The Rangers have scored power play goals in 8 of 9 games. They haven't been that great 5-on-5 hockey, but the power play is really, really clicking. The penalty kill is doing really, really well. They're blocking shots like in the old days, back when John Tortorella was coaching the team. And on the 5-game road trip, they allowed a mere 7 goals. Absolutely fantastic. The Rangers have the second best goals against in the National Hockey League, allowing 2.1 goals per game. Credit to Igor Shesterkin and credit to Jonathan Quick, the two goalies. And then Thursday night, oh my goodness. Well, Thursday night's going to be fun because it's the Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes back at Madison Square Garden. The Hurricanes are 6-4, second place in the division behind the Rangers, and pretty much the odds-on favorite to win the Metropolitan Division yet again. Rangers Hurricanes is always fun. I can't wait for that game on Thursday night. And I was going to do a little quick thing here on the World Series. As of this recording, it is 3-1 Texas in the overall series, and it was a 0-0 game up until just a few minutes ago when Texas finally broke through on Zach Gallen. So as of now, Texas is up 1-0 with a chance to win the World Series, top of the seventh, 2 outs, runners on first and second. So Arizona, not out of it, but the time is ticking. They got 9 outs to work with, and they got to start putting some runs across the board here. And credit to Nathan Eovaldi, the Rangers starting pitcher. He didn't do a whole lot in the regular season, but he just has a way to take his game up a couple of levels when the playoffs start. But like I told you last week, whoever wins this series, I'll be cool with it. I'm fine with the Diamondbacks winning, because that's a complete rags to riches story, something nobody saw coming. And on the Texas side, you know what? The Rangers have never won a World Series. I respect their organization. I think they do business the right way. Even though I'm not a fan of their new stadium. To me, it looks very, very generic. I wish they would have stayed at the old park, but I guess they wanted the roof. But I like the guys on the Rangers team aside from Scherzer. So, yeah, I got no beef with either of these teams winning. All right, well, let's say hello to a couple of people here in the chat before we get into some New York Jets content. So, of course, who's here? Jets mess showed up 20 minutes early tonight just to say Wicker Man. Well, Jets mess, I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you so much for coming by. Hank G, yeah, he's usually, if he's not the first, he's usually very close behind. Hank G, I say hi to you as well. I know you were ready for tonight, and I'm here to give it to you and everybody else who comes along. Harlan Abraham, Hank G, didn't I see you a little while ago? I'm willing to bet that you all did. Okay. So 4 hit the like button and 6 in this room. Come on, guys, smash that thumbs up, guys. Let's get the word out about the channel, about the show. Want to get this to as many people as possible. I love you guys, but let's keep expanding that audience. Hey, by the way, super chats are available. Super thanks are available. So you are more than welcome to do that as well. And it will help me see your comment, and I will make sure I read it soon as I can get to it. Harlan Abraham with a quick question. Could Xavier Newman be the Jets center for the future? If he is, then I don't think we have a very bright future. No, Joe Tippmann is going to be the center of the future. Okay, if Xavier Newman is the Jets center for the future, I don't think it's going to last more than 2 weeks. I fully expect Joe Tippmann back. I would say by the Miami or the Buffalo game. I think he might miss at most 2 more games, but I think 1 more really is realistic. I could see him missing the Chargers, but I could see him back for the Raiders. I will say this. I'm glad the New York Jets have that extra day to work with here. They're playing Monday night against the Chargers. They might need the extra day to help get Tippmann ready. Now, we'll have a more formal injury report tomorrow on Thursday afternoon. I should say Thursday, when Robert Saleh meets with the media. And last I heard, he said he was hopeful that Tippmann could return. But, with Robert Saleh, the eternal optimist, almost sometimes the delusional optimist, I'm not really ready to make a call on an injury until I see an actual report come out from the team. You can't put too much stock in what Robert Saleh says in these press conferences regarding injuries. But I could see Newman being a guard if Saffold doesn't work out. So the Jets side, Roger Saffold. We'll get to him a little bit later on tonight. But hopefully Newman will wind up in a reserve role. I don't think he's the Jets center of the future. All right, well, let's talk. I got a little bit of content here for you tonight, so let's start with what is quickly becoming a tradition here. The number of days since the opposing defense has been called for roughing the passer against the New York Jets offense. We are now up to 682 days. December of 2021, we can't get roughing the passer. Tommy freaking touchdown DeVito from Goodfellas. He comes in for the Giants. He gets a roughing call for him in his favor for the New York Giants. But Zach Wilson, God forbid, he ever gets a roughing the passer call. You've got to be kidding me. 682 days. Will we reach 700? But like I said, I am tweeting this or Xing it, whatever the term is now, every single day. And I will continue to tweet it every day until the streak ends. 682 days. Come on, NFL. Come on, NFL officials. Wake up. Call it even. All right. Now, I thought I would do something a little bit different tonight with the stats. So if you remember when Frankie from Flatbush would do his show, he'd talk a lot about DVOA, defense adjusted value over average. Now, a lot of people might have heard of DVOA, but what does it all really come down to? It's not just, it ranks offense, defense, special teams, position groups, but it's more situation specific. So for instance, if you have a 3rd and 5 and you run for 10 yards, that's going to be really good. But if you have a 3rd and 20 and you run for 10 yards, it's not quite as valuable. So the main thing to remember, it's not just analyzing the statistics, it's analyzing the statistics in the actual content, factoring in the situation and the opponent you're going against. That's probably the simplest way to define DVOA. So if we go to where the New York Jets are currently ranked, how about this, guys? Their offense is ranked just 29th in the NFL in DVOA. The only 3 teams, if you're wondering, the only 3 teams ranked lower than them are the Carolina Panthers, the Vegas Raiders, and the New York Giants. And as we all know, the Jets have the Raiders on their radar. The Raider radar, is that a thing? If it wasn't, it should be. They'll be facing the Raiders in 2 weeks with Aiden O'Connell, most likely suiting up at quarterback, the rookie, as Jimmy Garoppolo has now been benched. But you've got, but we saw what the Giants' offense is. It is not exactly impressive, especially without Saquon Barkley during the stretch that he was out. We saw the passing attack without Darren Waller. They had absolutely nothing worth talking about with that offense. So the Giants' offense is ranked a little bit lower. Yep, that's exactly where I heard it from too. Was Frankie from Flatbush, and I think the previous website that had it shut down, but I was able to find it off another website. So I thought I'd give this to you guys. Talk a little bit of the DVOA without getting too specific, too granular, but just as a general rule of thumb. But the defense is ranked 6th currently in the NFL. I think that's a pretty good place. Their sack numbers haven't been great, but they have come through in big spots. They've been turning the other team over. They've been generating pressures. They've given up a lot of rushing yards, but a lot of that I really think is because other teams don't want to pass on the Jets. Okay? By the way, if you're wondering about the defenses ranked higher than the Jets, you've got Baltimore, who, by the way, is the #1 overall team right now in DVOA. It's the Baltimore Ravens. Number 2, you've got Cleveland. 3, you've got Dallas. 4, you have Jacksonville. And number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. So 3 of these teams are on the Jets' schedule. In Cleveland, Dallas, and Kansas City. Cleveland, the only one left. But the Jets are ranked 6th on defense. Special teams, how could it be anything but #1, right? How could it be anything but #1? With Thomas Morstead, Greg Zuerlein, and don't forget the coverage. So often when the Jets are punting the ball away or kicking the ball away on a kickoff, they get down the field quick and they make those tackles count. Whether it's Justin Hardy, whether it's Brandon Eccles, whether it's Ashton Davis, Irv Charles, whoever it may be, you got to give Brent Boyer a whole lot of credit. He's survived multiple head coaches with this franchise, and he has had the special teams absolutely clicking. And that also speaks to the depth acquired by Joe Douglas because, it's really your depth players, your rookies, that wind up playing special teams for the most part. And, the Jets special teams have been absolutely fantastic. Even though they're kind of being phased out of the league, if we're being honest, special teams, the role is being more and more reduced as the kickoffs are being phased out of the game. The Jets are doing very, very well. And overall, they rank 19th in the NFL when you factor in all 3 phases of the game. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of DVOA numbers, and we'll come back to that more each week. I think it'll be something to track as the year goes on. By the way, before the Giants game, they were ranked 19th overall as well. So from the previous week to this week, the Jets' overall DVOA did not change. Okay. So that's kind of what's going on there. Now we're going to get back into something that we've started doing. Didn't do it recently because of the bye week, but we're going to bring it back. We're going to talk snap counts. What trends are we seeing? Who is playing a lot? Who's gaining playing time? Who's losing playing time? Well, we're going to talk about the offense first and get into the defense. So first of all, at running back, there were 64 offensive snaps total in the game against the G-Men. You have Breece Hall at 41 snaps, about 2/3 of the snaps. Michael Carter on the field for 15 snaps. I think I noticed him for maybe 2 of them. Dalvin Cook down to just 8 snaps as his role continues to dwindle by the week. And Nick Bawden, just 5 snaps. That's about all he gets every week, is about 4 to 5 snaps. And to be honest with you, I don't really understand it. As these teams continue to try to stack the box and take Breece Hall away, why not put in an extra blocker who can help open up a hole and maybe knock a blocker backwards and open up an extra hole for the running back? I would like to see Baldwin on the field a little bit more than he is when you don't have the depth at wide receiver, but you have some depth at tight end. You have a good fullback. Why not take advantage of that? Just my thoughts. So I question some of the usage of the running back room. We got that first cold day today, guys. It's about 45 degrees in Virginia right now, so it's definitely messes with my head a little bit, but we're okay. All right, tight end. I want to go to tight end first. So Ty Conklin, 44 snaps. Okay. Randall Cobb. Yeah. So just to react to that, what about Carter? Yep, we got Carter on there for you. Hey, Randall Cobb didn't play. He had a shoulder injury. So Cobb was not active for the game against the Giants. So that's why that came to that. You know what? I liked Michael Carter a lot more than I do now, but he has been dropping passes and he's starting to basically prove himself as a pretty ordinary running back. He's got like average size, average speed, average catching ability, average blocking. Every team in the league pretty much has a Michael Carter. That's how I would describe it. Maybe like a slightly more dynamic Bilal Powell. That's kind of how I look at Michael Carter. So to me, I need to see a whole lot more from him. Yeah, hey G, I'm good. A little bit stuffed up, so hopefully it's not too nasally, but we're doing the best we can. Yeah, but I feel fine. I got the energy. I feel good. Yeah, all those tight ends and so few catches. Oh man, when I get into the targets are just infuriating, but we'll get into that. CJ 30 snaps, Jeremy Ruckert 27 snaps. Ruckert's usually lagging just a little bit behind CJ in terms of the snaps. That didn't really change this week either, but I like seeing 27 snaps. A lot of times the Jets did go to 12 personnel or 13 personnel and playing multiple tight ends because I think that's when the offense really seems to work at its best. Now, the wide receiver snaps were a little bit weird. Now, Garrett Wilson was on for 57 snaps, Alan Lazard for 52. Now, if I gave you the question, how many snaps did Malik Taylor play in this game? How long would have it taken for us to come up with the number 23? I never noticed Malik Taylor in the game, at least not on offense, until that final pass down the field, I think in overtime, where Zach underthrew the ball and the Giants got called for defensive pass interference. I personally never even noticed him. Never, ever noticed him until the last play of the game. Then you had Xavier Gibson with 16 snaps. He was hurt for a little bit, but he came back. Jason Brownlee had only 2. So you got to figure, if Cobb comes back, I think Taylor's going to be the one to pay the price on that. I would expect Cobb would take those snaps away. DFF1234 with a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Can play calling help Zach? I think so. Put it this way. When we have a 3rd and 1, I don't need to see 5 wide. I don't need to see 5 receivers. That's an Aaron Rodgers play. I trust Aaron Rodgers to do it, not Zach Wilson, who can't look more than 2 reads on one play. Oh, Wilson covered. Lazard covered. Check down, run. I mean, that's basically what he does. He doesn't Zach Wilson, to me, the most frustrating thing with him is he limits how many reads he looks for. Why would you put 5 receivers out there when he doesn't look at more than 2 or 3? That's what's really frustrating for me, when I see this play calling. So I think Nathaniel Hackett, he makes adjustments to the offense, but it seems to take him a couple of weeks. Has he realized that Zach Wilson doesn't have Aaron Rodgers' brain inside of his skull? So, yeah, 5-line shotgun on 3rd and 1, run the damn ball, or at least do an RPO. At least let Zach maybe run the ball a little bit. Maybe that would work. Man, Harlan Abraham, good to see Brownlee got in. Yeah, it was for the 2 snaps he got. Gibson needs more snaps. I think he's going to get some more snaps. I do think he will, but I do hope the snap count is pretty comparable to Randall Cobb. I would expect Cobb to get more reps for the experience, but come on. Randall Cobb is a very good leader. He's very good in the locker room. I respect that. But as far as his production, he has, 3 catches all year? 3 catches, and he's played about half the snaps. So what is he really doing here? And, I mean, I don't know if Gibson has the best hands in the world, but I know he's got speed, and I know he's crafty. So why not? Why not send him down the field every now and then on a play-action bomb? Why not try that? How can you notice him if Zach never throws to him? Well, maybe in the huddle. Who knows? When they're lined up. On 3rd and 1, give it to Bawden. I love it. I would like to see Nick Bawden get a few running attempts. Why not? I mean, nobody's expecting it at this point. Why not give it to the fullback? We know he's fierce. We know he can run people over. So, yeah, I am very much in favor of that. I like it. And then with the offensive line, obviously this was affected due to multiple injuries. Mekhi Becton, Max Mitchell, Laken Tomlinson played the whole game, all 64 snaps. Xavier Newman played 46 in relief of Connor McGovern. McGovern played 18. So the 46 and 18 add up to the 64. And then you've got Billy Turner, who relieved Wes Schweitzer. All right, so that's kind of how that went. I don't know if we'll see Billy Turner at guard again this week. We'll have to see. I will get into some numbers on the offensive line in just a few moments here. But before I do that, a couple of notes on the Jets offense. So the Jets offense has the fewest first downs in the NFL with 102 and are tied with the Giants for the fewest offensive touchdowns with 8. So it ain't working. But on the good side, Breece Hall has 5 plays from scrimmage of 50 yards or more since the start of last season. And he's only played in 14 games. Breece Hall is absolutely dynamic. And again, there was a little bit of controversy today about Joe Douglas being a C-plus general manager that fans think of as an A-plus general manager. I mean, my gosh, no general manager bats 1,000. You name the general manager, they've had their misses. And Douglas certainly has had his, but to me, the hits far outweigh the misses. No question about it. And the fact that he took the initiative to trade up 2 spots, to take Breece Hall, which I was against. I did not want to trade a running back. At the time, I thought Michael Carter would be good enough. I felt you could get a Dameon Pierce or somebody like that later, but there's no running back in that draft class, and there's some good ones. You have Kenneth Walker, a couple other guys, but there's nobody like Breece Hall. Nobody. And when you have 5 plays of 50 yards or more in just 14 games, you're pretty special. Jets mess. Gibson's hands can't be worse than Lazard's. It is hard for me to disagree with that. Yeah, Lazard did make one big play, but man, oh man. Yeah, well, Lazard will make some tough catches, but he'll drop some easy ones. He's pretty frustrating. Personally, I would love to see Corey Davis come back. I've always been a Corey Davis defender. Not saying that he would turn them into the Chiefs, but, I think it would definitely add some order back to the receiving room. So hopefully he will come back, but you can't count on it. Can't count on it. But as far as that offensive line goes, they allowed 15 pressures by Dexter Lawrence. 15 pressures by Dexter Lawrence. And if we break it down by pressures allowed total, Xavier Newman allowed 5 pressures and 1 sack. Connor McGovern, 4 pressures and 2 quarterback hits. As much as we're going to miss McGovern, he allowed 4 pressures on just 18 snaps. That's not good. That's not good. Max Mitchell allowed 3 pressures and 1 sack. Mekhi Becton, 2 pressures and 1 sack. Billy Turner allowed 2 pressures. Wes Schweitzer allowed 2 pressures as well. So This offensive line was not good, especially pass blocking. I mean, there were clips going around of Zach Wilson running to his right, and there were literally four Giants running right at him without a single jet in the way. It was ugly to watch. Yeah, we'll come back to the snap counts a little bit when we switch over to the defense. But yeah, the offensive line was just not working, and yeah, it was very, very frustrating. I mean, Zach was pressured on more than half his snaps, and you knew it was going to be difficult when you had two more starters go down. But yeah, that's one of the frustrating things. It's why you wanted the Jets, if they were to make a trade, why offensive line would have made sense. And when I heard people give their takes, the Jets need to trade for a backup quarterback if Zach Wilson doesn't work out. Well, what quarterback is going to work behind that O-line? So to me, it just never made sense to trade for a quarterback. And we'll get to the trade deadline a little bit later on too. Dwayne Brown. I want to talk about Dwayne Brown for a moment because now his 21-day to return has opened. So he's going to have a few practices to see where he can make it work. Because I'll tell you right now, I got a lot more value, a lot more stock in Mekhi Becton than I do Dwayne Brown. Mekhi Becton could be here for years. Dwayne Brown is likely going to be off this team in 3 months. He's 35 years old. I don't think Dwayne Brown's about to play guard where the Jets could really use some help. And again, he hasn't played right tackle in how many years? Maybe a decade? So Robert Saleh, whenever he talks about the offensive line, and a reporter asks him, so what are you going to do with the offensive line? What does Saleh always say? We're going to play the best five. We're going to play the best five guys. They're going to play. Well, when Robert Saleh says that, I really hope that he's talking about the best five-man unit, not the best five individual players. The five best players on an offensive line don't necessarily equal the best line. Okay? So I am not interested in moving Mekhi Becton back to right tackle just to make Dwayne Brown happy. If Dwayne Brown can slide in and play right tackle and put Max Mitchell on the bench, God bless him, great. But he's got to prove that in practice because right now Becton's working out pretty well at left tackle. Not saying he's perfect. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau beat him a time or two, but Thibodeau was a man possessed in that game. All right, I got to give Thibodeau credit. He was. But I have no interest in shuffling Becton around like he's Elijah Vera Tucker. Okay. Harlan Abraham, referring to Jason Peters of Philadelphia. Peters never played guard until last season. Hey, it is possible. I would be willing to give him a rep, see Brown his reps, see what can work out. I hope Brown has the approach where he is willing to try something other than left tackle. I mean, Becton, in his presser today, he said, I just want to play. I'll play where they want me to play. And I appreciate him saying that. Did he mean that? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We can always speculate on that. But yeah, if Dwayne Brown is healthy and he is ready to go, I think he could help the line. I just don't like the idea of moving Mekhi Becton to make it happen. I just don't want to see that go down. All right, let's get back to the snap counts here. I'm going to move back over to the defense. All right, so let's slide on over and look at some of the snap counts from this game. So 75 snaps. Quinnen Williams had to play 58 snaps, almost 80% of the game due to injury, which we'll talk about in a moment. Jermaine Johnson, wow, 55 snaps. His playing time continues to go up and up and up. You've got John Franklin Myers at 47. At defensive tackle, Quentin Jefferson played 39, so he played about half the game. Solomon Thomas played 33, more than I'm sure he imagined he would play. Then Michael Clemens played 28 snaps, which made sense because Clemens is more of a run stopper, and by the second half, the Giants had gone exclusively to a running game. And this is why Bryce Huff only played 28 snaps in this game. Okay? So I know it seems crazy that Huff would play that little, but when Huff did play, okay, Bryce Huff, on 13 pass rush snaps he did play, had 4 pressures. That's over a 30% pressure rate. For the season, Bryce Huff has a pressure rate of 29.9%. There is no edge rusher in the entire league with a higher percentage than that. So Huff didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to make an impact, but when he did, he usually came through. So a whole lot of credit to him on that. Harlan Abraham with a good point here. Becton's play helps improve Tomlinson. There's no doubt about that. Lakin Tomlinson has been much better this season. And the fact that he is playing next to Becton, I think that has a lot to do with that, as opposed to last year when Dwayne Brown was playing next to Tomlinson, and Brown basically had one arm dangling off his shoulder, ready to fall off with the torn rotator cuff. So, yes, Harlan, I completely agree with that. No question about it. And then Will McDonald down to just 8 snaps because he is pretty much a pass rushing specialist. He played a lot more snaps last week, and I think against the Chargers, you'll see a whole lot more of Bryce Huff and Will McDonald and a lot less of Michael Clemens, in my opinion. And Al Woods, sadly, only played 4 snaps until he went out for the season with a torn Achilles. Okay, linebacker C.J. Mosley played the whole game, 75 snaps. Quincy Williams played 73, sat for just 2 snaps. I was very interested to see that Jamien Sherwood, the Jets' third linebacker, suited up for the game, but played no snaps on defense. He played special teams exclusively. That was surprising. And I don't necessarily know if that is a knock on him or the fact that the Jets were just playing in nickel the most of the game. They were playing with 3 defensive backs a lot. But I was kind of surprised with the Giants going to such a run-focused attack that Jamien Sherwood could not see the field. Very, very strange. I'll be interested to see what his snap count looks like last week after they faced the Chargers, who run a very, very different offense than the Giants do. But the linebacker thing stuck out to me. At quarterback, Michael Carter II, by the way, he's going to have a huge, huge week this coming up on Monday against the Chargers. We'll get into that. 61 snaps. Brandon Eccles, coming back from injury, played just 2 snaps. And then at safety, of course, Jordan Whitehead and Tony Adams played the whole game. And then you had Ashton Davis play 7 snaps, Adrian Amos with 7 snaps. Now, I gave you the stats on Bryce Huff and how good his pass rushing rate has been, but also Jermaine Johnson. 17 pass rush snaps that he played. He had 5 pressures, okay? That's a career-high 29.4% pressure rate. JJ has 3 straight games with 4 quarterback pressures or more. He is really, really emerging, and another reason why Carl Lawson was not suited up for this game. And then Quincy Williams. What more can we say about Q? He recorded a tackle for loss for the 5th straight game. That is tied for the longest active streak in the NFL. Awesome. Harlan, what about Gardner and Reed at cornerback? I didn't mention them because they played the whole time. It wasn't even worth mentioning. Yeah, the whole starting secondary, they never really rotate the secondary. Okay. The quarterbacks, the safeties, and C.J. Mosley, they played the entire game. So that's kind of what happened there. All right. Let's hide that one. Okay. A couple of other notes, a couple other stats that I found, and then we're going to talk about the trade deadline a little bit, and we'll talk about what the Jets did, what they didn't do. One stat that's really bothering me right now is the penalties. I want to spend a minute about the Jets' penalties. Against the Giants, they had 9 penalties for 85 yards, but it was the timing of them that was so frustrating, guys. Many of them were on 3rd down and 4th down. The Jets had their 3rd straight game taking 9 penalties or more, but amazingly, the Jets are only 22nd in the league in penalties taken with 44. So it's not as if they're in the top 5 or top 10 in penalties taken. They're not. Over the last couple of weeks, though, they have shown an absolute lack of discipline. And I'm sorry, they're a talented team, but they're not talented enough to keep overcoming that, especially against good teams. They were barely able to do it against the Giants. Okay? I want to say a quick hello to the great Johnny Jimenez, who hung out with a little bit on the show Friday night, along with Nick. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here. Hope you, the wife, and the youngin' are having a very, very nice evening. Thanks for coming by, buddy. But, you know the teams, by the way, with the most penalties in the league? The Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers. So just because you take a lot of penalties doesn't mean you're going to lose, but you need that level of talent to overcome it. And when you see these late hits, when you see lack of discipline penalties, Michael Clemens jumping offside on 4th down on the punt attempt. I mentioned the late JJ hit, Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams, I mentioned this on a previous video. He gets the late hit, and he's so proud of himself. And this guy's doing push-ups on the MetLife turf. What are you doing, Quincy? Come on. That got me aggravated. He takes the 15-yard penalty, and he's too oblivious to know it. He's down there doing like he's Jack LaLanne or something like that. Come on. Man, that annoyed me. Quincy, I love you, but come on. Stay focused here. All right. All right, let's move on to the trade deadline a little bit. Just I want to mention a couple of these trades. Montez Sweat to the Bears, the pass rusher from Washington for a 2024 second-round pick. As of today, that would be the 35th overall pick. I had to double-check this trade. I figured the website was wrong. The Bears are 2-6. They're headed straight for another top 5 pick, maybe 2 top 5 picks. Why would they trade for players who are in a contract year? Players who are going to be a free agent in just 2 months. They got all this cap space, the Bears do. They got over $100 million. If they're trading for players for future pieces, that's fine. But shouldn't it be for pieces that they could keep next year and beyond? So I don't understand what the idea of what the Bears are doing. If you all can explain that to me, I'm all ears. Okay. DFF with another $2 super chat. Thanks, buddy. Can we add to the practice squad after the trade deadline? Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can definitely do that. Yeah. No problem there. Yeah. There's never any limit on when you can add or subtract with the practice squad. So hey, remember Trevor Simeon's still on our practice squad. Roger Saffold, the new offensive lineman, he's on the practice squad. So they did that after the. Yeah, I don't know if they did it at 4:00, before, after. But it was right around the trade deadline, right around 4:00 on Halloween, when the announcement was made that the Jets added Roger Saffold and put him on their practice squad with the intent to eventually promote him. All right. Chase Young to the 49ers for a 2024 third-round pick. So Washington trades both their pass rushers. All of a sudden, that game against the Commanders, the Commandskins, down in December, all of a sudden that looks like a pretty winnable game for the Jets. But think about it. With Chase Young and Nick Bosa, that may be as scary a 1-2 punch of pass rush that you could want nowadays in the NFL. And through 7 games this season, Chase Young has 5 sacks and 9 quarterback hits. It has got to the point, seriously, where I saw on Twitter, there were Redskin fans, whatever their name is, that had fan sites for like 6 years, 7 years, and they have officially decided after this trade deadline to become Jaguars fans. They have shut down. It was like, I don't want to even mention the name because they don't deserve the I don't want to give them the attention. But yeah, I saw Washington fan sites that were shutting down, says, I can't root for this team anymore over a trade deadline. If they had any idea of what we go through as Jets fans, they'd have been done a long time ago. So please. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones to Detroit, the wide receiver, speedy little wide receiver from Cleveland. There are a lot of Jets fans who mentioned his name. I know there's content creators who have liked Peoples-Jones for a while. To me, he's all skill, but not much in the way of production. He averages 36 yards receiving per game, 50 games played in his career. He has 8 touchdowns. I know that's 8 more than Denzel Mims, but still. To me, Peoples-Jones is a one-trick pony. He runs really fast. And let's be honest. I mean, Cleveland, they're a pretty good team, but their offense isn't exactly flooded with playmakers here, especially with Nick Chubb gone. You've got Amari Cooper. Then you've got what? You've got Elijah Moore, who hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. Elijah Moore proved again he can't make a contested catch. He has one of the lowest contested catch rates, like bottom 5 contested catch rates in the whole NFL out of like 135 wide receivers. All right. So for anybody who was worried about Elijah Moore going to Cleveland and tearing it up, it's not really happening so far. But Peoples-Jones couldn't really make an impact on the Cleveland offense. And that, I don't know. He might work out well in Detroit, with Jared Goff playing indoors. He's from Michigan. That might be a better fit for him. I don't know if it would have been the right fit with the Jets because I feel like the Jets already have these like speedy young receivers. I feel like DPJ would have been a little bit redundant. That's my opinion. I wasn't too worried about not getting him. Harlan Abraham. Maybe the Bears think they could sign those players long term. It's possible. It is possible, but it is quite the risk to take. Or maybe they would they want the comp pick in a year. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just doing it with the idea of a comp pick. Who knows? Johnny took the daughter trick or treating. She goes to door ring the doorbell. Dude comes out with a Josh Allen jersey, pads, and everything on. She goes, "No, thank you. We don't like the Bills coaches." That is a child being raised very well, my friends. Take note. It's interesting. So this guy, he's wearing a Josh Allen jersey, and he's just wearing it around the house to greet trick or treaters. Would you at least want to go out? I don't know. That's a little bit weird. And by the way, I don't know if either of you had any Jet stuff on, but I'm sure the second he would have seen that, he would have run in fear for his life, just like the actual Josh Allen does. Just saying. Oh, very, very well done. But speaking of the Buffalo Bills, see, just worked right my segue there. See, so well done. Russell Douglas to Buffalo. They needed secondary help after losing Trey White. They gave up a third-round pick for Douglas and a 5, and a quarterback, Josh Dobbs, to the Vikings. It was Dobbs and a 7 to the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for a 6. Terrible, terrible loss for the Vikings, losing Kirk Cousins with a torn Achilles. Got a lot of respect for the man. As a person and as a quarterback with all the crap that he takes. And it was really, really cool that, people have been, I think this year people were starting to kind of respect Cousins a little bit more. He was playing well in some primetime games. Last year went really, really well, but I feel like this year people are kind of starting to understand, he is a good quarterback. Even playing well after the loss of Justin Jefferson. I think that proves some things to some people as well. But he gets hurt. Vikings not ready to give up on the season just yet. Now, Jaron Hall, the rookie, will be playing this Sunday. I want to say it's against the Falcons, I believe it is. I think it's, I believe it's Vikings-Falcons. So that's what we're looking at there. But Dobbs will go there. And one thing about Dobbs, he is very smart with the football. He is competitive. He kept Arizona in a lot of games where most people thought they would get blown out. So let's see how he does in Minnesota. We've got the great Nick Shine here. He was nice enough to let me on his channel for about 4 hours on Friday night to do a little Friday night reunion show. And then Saturday I woke up and wanted to go back to bed right away for another 3 hours because that's what doing a show, that's what doing these marathon shows can do to you. Maybe when you're in your 20s or even in your 30s, you can recover quickly. But nowadays I need some caffeine after doing one of those. My goodness. But yeah, it was a fantastic, fantastic time. All right. Now let's talk about the injury situation and kind of what the Jets are doing. I want to spend a minute here on Al Woods. Okay. Yes, Nick. 4 hours and 15 minutes. Yes, very good. Every minute counts. We know. And by the way, guys, we will be doing Jets Chargers trivia a little bit later on tonight. You definitely want to stick around for that. Now, Al Woods, as we know, is gone with a torn Achilles. And here's one of the reasons why this is so impactful. So when Woods was on the field, the Jets allowed 3.1 yards per rushing attempt. When the other team runs and Woods is not on the field, the Jets are averaging 4.8 yards allowed per attempt. That is a substantial difference, like a third more yards per rushing attempt. And now he's going to be gone. So the Jets are really going to have to figure something out here because, Quentin Jefferson, very good player, but brought in as a pass rusher. Solomon Thomas, not much different. Now, the Jets did work out Perion Winfrey today, 4th-round pick of the Cleveland Browns in 2022. I'm good this Friday if you want to go again. We'll see. We'll have to see. I'm Nick. I'm off Friday. Actually, I have Friday off, but Saturday I will be working, so I can, but maybe not till midnight. How do I have a super chat when I'm not at 1,000 subs yet? Well, here's the deal. I'm just gonna be real with you about it. So the requirements have gone down a little bit. I believe once I hit 700, I was able to get them. But here's the thing: you don't get paid until you reach $100 total in super chats. And right now I'm a little bit below that. Not hopelessly below that, but I haven't reached $100 yet in super chats, and that's why I haven't been paid. So hopefully we'll get to that relatively soon, whether this show or down the road. And but yeah, so I think the requirements change. But when I saw I had the eligibility, believe me, I was surprised because I thought it had to be 1,000. And I've been in that 720 to 740 range for a little while now. So that's pretty much what happened. I hit 700, and YouTube reached out to me, or Google reached out to me, and said that that was an option. So yeah, shocked the hell out of me. Uh, Always grinding away, man. Always grinding away. Now, the thing with Perion Winfrey, fourth round pick for the Browns in 2022, he's had some legal issues that you got to be a little concerned about. Now, April of 2023, just this year, arrested on a misdemeanor assault charge in Texas. Then on July, it was confirmed that Winfrey was under investigation by Cleveland police for allegedly pulling a gun on a woman and threatening her. All right. Now, it came out this week that Winfrey will not face charges. So guilty, innocence, not here to talk about that. That ain't my field. Not for me to judge one way or another. But I gotta say, just because there have been two incidents this year, and Cleveland just released them, I'm actually surprised the Jets are even looking at it. The Jets have talked a lot about culture ever since the beginning of Joe Douglas's time here. He talked about wanting to build the best culture in all of sports. So regardless of whether he's guilty or not, does he fit here? And the other thing with Winfrey, I think he's really more of a pass rusher than a run stopper. And I don't really know if that's what the Jets need right now. You look at Winfrey, 6'4", 290 pounds. Okay, great upper body strength. He's got good arm length. He can knock blockers back, but he doesn't, settle in and play with a wide base when needed. He's Nick, don't giggle, but this guy, his real specialty is penetrating. Okay, he's a bull rusher, so he's not like a straight up replacement for Al Woods. He's almost like maybe like a younger version of Solomon Thomas is what he really is. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm against the move, but to me, it just doesn't make sense to bring in Perion Winfrey. You worked him out. He was suspended for the first 2 games this season, but honestly, I would almost rather see the Jets roll with Tanzel Smart, see what he could do, and just call him up from the practice squad. But we'll see what happens. Connor McGovern, dislocated kneecap, and may or may not require surgery. We knew he was going on IR. Now, looking at most dislocated kneecaps that I've seen, they are typically about a 6-week injury on average, depending on the severity. So, yes, I definitely expect him to miss. I don't expect him back until maybe about mid-December. But I think if he can be back in about 5 weeks or so, then I would take that. Wes Schweitzer also on injury reserve with the calf. With Joe Tippmann, like we said, Robert Saleh said he's hopeful. That was the word he used, that he could return. No actual injury report comes out until Thursday. So Thursday we'll have a better idea. Hopefully he's at least working off to the side with a trainer, doing some position-specific drills, even if he's not a full go in practice. I know. I don't really get it. Now, they didn't sign him. They just worked him out. And that's just to be clear on that. Hey, maybe maybe they would sign Winfrey with intent to convert him to guard. Maybe it's the new Brandon Moore experiment. I don't know, because Moore was a defensive lineman, as I recall, and they turned him to a great guard for 10 years. I doubt that's happening, but I'm just throwing darts at the wall here. So what do you want from me? All right. So the thing with Tippmann, I'm positive he'll be back in a couple of weeks. I think he misses no more than 2 more games. I really think that. If he was going to miss a month, he'd be on injured reserve. Now, here's the thing. Do the Jets trust him to go to center now? Because we know the Jets have a huge hole at center with McGovern gone, and I don't think the Jets want Newman to be playing center all the time, right? So, or they could keep him at guard and sign a center like a Ben Jones. I know he's dealt with some concussion issues. I would have considered that, but with the addition of Roger Saffold, I don't think that's going to be an option now. I think when Tippmann comes back, he becomes the starting center on this team. Help stabilize that, because it's hard to find a tackle, it's hard to find a center, but it is a little bit easier of the 3 to find a guard. So that's kind of my thoughts there. I guess they're going to trust Billy Turner at guard right now until Roger Saffold's ready to go. But we'll find out. We'll find out what happens there. Now, as regards to Roger Saffold, right? So he's 36 years old. I don't expect he has a ton left to give. Last year he was with Buffalo, and things didn't work out too well for the man. He allowed 42 pressures. He took 10 penalties. Now, he is a better run blocker than he is pass blocker. With the Jets, this is also important. Saffold's been a left guard for the bulk of his career. But obviously the Jets have Tomlinson at left guard, so Saffold would have to slide over and play right guard, which is a position he has not played since 2015. Now, I don't mind it. It's a flyer. It didn't cost any draft compensation. And Saffold knows Keith Carter very well from their years in Tennessee together. So that could be a very good fit. Now, as far as what the Jets didn't do at the trade deadline, I saw a lot of people, certain typical Jets fans, like suffering Jets fans. There was Ray and all these types of guys talking about Joe Douglas taking a nap. It's really amazing to me that all these negative Jets fans are just right there next to Joe Douglas in the room with him, watching him on the phone, and they actually know his sleep schedule. Somehow they're aware of this. So, I mean, who knew that so many Jets fans are allowed in Joe Douglas's office during the trade deadline and also during free agency, right? Just amazing. Now, I wanted Mike Evans. The Jets were told he was not available. The Jets at least inquired about Devontae Adams. Again, they were told that he was not available. And then overnight, the Raiders fire their coach. I mean, that's like a Mets thing to do, right? So I don't know if the Raiders know what they're doing. But that did not make a whole lot of sense with the time. He's like, no, we're definitely not trading Devontae Adams, but we're firing our head coach. So, yeah, I really wonder how committed the Raiders are to winning now, winning in the future. Like, what is the direction of the Las Vegas Raiders? And I say that because, they're not very far behind the Jets in the playoff race, and they host the Giants this week and then the Jets the next week. And I got to say, Antonio Pierce, the new Raiders head coach, that's going to be interesting. And how juicy him. I didn't think there was any way Giants Raiders could have juice to it, that could have any sex appeal whatsoever. But you got Antonio Pierce coaching against his old team. That is going to be fun, man. That's going to be really fun. And by the way, if you haven't heard Pierce's intro press conference, on the creepometer, 1 to 10, that's about a 9. I'll just leave it at that with some of the words he used and some of the analogies he used. I'm just going to leave it there. And as far as Hunter Renfrow goes, you seem to have some Jets fans who really were interested, some Jets fans who treated him like the plague. Stay away from Hunter Renfrow, whatever you do. The Jets were not going to add on a slot receiver because they wanted an outside receiver, not a slot receiver, especially a slot receiver making $11 million. And we got to remember, guys, with trades, it takes 2 to make a trade. And if one team's not willing, Joe Douglas can't convince them to make the trade. Okay? Now, offensive line, yes, we can make a case. Ezra Cleveland, they did talk to Minnesota about him. I think the 25-year-old guard would have been a help. The Jets, for whatever reason, did not feel, according to the New York Post, that he suited their style of play. Now, I don't know if that means man blocking versus zone blocking. Who knows? I don't know why they feel he wasn't, but somehow Xavier Newman is suited for their style. So, I mean, who knows what that even means? And let's not forget, Minnesota benched Ezra Cleveland earlier this season. He dealt with some injuries. So while he's a good young guard, I wouldn't exactly say that they passed on the ultimate solution to fix their offensive line. And again, with limited draft capital this year, the Jets could not offer a first or second round pick. So it was likely to be a player for player or a practice squad or a free agent signing. Okay. I guess I'm a little surprised that Carl Lawson's here. If I had a bet on one Jet getting traded, I think it would have been Carl Lawson. But he is still here. And, hey, the Jets defensive line has been very, very healthy this year. And even though he hasn't been right since hurting his back, and even before that with his Achilles, I am glad that the Jets have him in reserve. And if he is needed, I do think he will be ready because here's the thing. Carl Lawson, he got something to prove. He got a lot to prove. Heading into a contract year now at this point, I believe. He doesn't have a whole lot of time to show what he still has left. And I don't think he's going to really take that opportunity for granted. Okay, I'm going to do one other new feature here for the show. I'm going to give you every week before the Jets game 5 key stats to know about the upcoming opponents. So we're going to do that right now with the San Diego Chargers. You like that I put the team colors in there? That's right. We're making it nice and colorful here. So, 5 key stats about the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego. All right, so number 1, next time I think I'll make that a little bit larger. The Chargers are +6 in turnover differential, whereas the Jets are +3. Now, the Chargers have also taken 44 penalties only, the 3rd fewest in the league. So this is a team that's not necessarily beating themselves with the way they're playing on the field. They're playing good, disciplined, fundamental football, and that's what these first 2 stats are telling me. All right. You're welcome. Lawson did restructure. I believe, though, that I think there's some void years. I don't believe, like, we could check on this. I don't know if there was any more guaranteed money after this year, though. I think that's the difference. I think there were some void years added on. But then with the defense, the Chargers have allowed almost 391 yards per game. That's second most in the NFL, only to the Denver Broncos. Now, within that, you got to look a little bit deeper, okay? Their run defense has been pretty good. The Chargers' run defense is allowing 97 yards per game. That's the sixth lowest in the league. But they are allowing 297 passing yards per game. That is the worst in the NFL. To give you context on that, the second worst team in the league with passing yards allowed per game is Jacksonville at just 263. So the Chargers by far and away are allowing the most passing yards per game. So in this game, can we not run like the poor man's version of the West Coast offense? Can we have Zach take some shots down the field? Can we try a little bit of play action here and test the secondary that pretty much stinks? Can we try it? I'm just saying. Let's see some seam routes for Ty Conklin rather than the 2 targets he gets per game. If we don't have a reliable second wide receiver, let's start going to the tight ends. Let's go to Conklin. Let's go to Rucker. As much as people want to knock CJ Uzomah sometimes, he had a pretty dang good reception last week too. So, Stephen T, hello, my friend. Only respect I have for the Chargers is letting the Jets sign LT in 2010. And their uniforms too. You got to like the powder blue, right? Yeah. So for sure. Tomlinson will always be a Charger more than he's a Jet, but he was a very good addition for the time that he was here. No doubt about it. Hey, Johnny, more trivia on Friday night, Nick? Hey, it's Nick's call, Billy SBC is here. You can do that if your line lets you do it. Hey, you know what? When Tippett comes back, I think it'll be a lot more possible. But you know what? This line just has to do their job better. Now, the Chargers, they do have a couple of very, very dangerous pass rushers in Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So I'm not saying you're living off the play action, but Zach, I think we're seeing the best out of Zach when he's getting out of the pocket. I think he's becoming more confident in that facet of his game. So maybe that's what you have to do. Running cross patterns, running across the field instead of straight down the field. You have to find a way to get some of these receivers in space. And that's on Nathaniel Hackett to do. Not saying it's easy. This isn't the most talented group we've ever seen at wide receiver, but you got to come up with something. You really, really do. Jets mess throws in Antonio Cromartie. Yep. Can't forget that. Oh, Steven, you were at the game. Being at the game took years off my life between the weather of the game and 3 hours getting home from that awful stadium. Yeah. You're a trooper for fighting through it. I hope you stayed all the way through. There were a lot of Jets fans who left as soon as Zach Wilson was sacked on 4th down. I mean, there have been videos of Jets fans trying to get back in the stadium, and they're watching the final field goal on the Jumbotron outside the stadium. Man, oh, man. I mean, I haven't gone to a lot of football games in my life because to me, I'd rather be watching with friends and checking on everything, plus dealing with the elements and stuff like that. To go to like every game at MetLife Stadium, it's somewhere between dedication and insanity, no doubt about it. But I give you credit for going. And isn't it also funny before I get to Grandizer? That game was as bad as it was, and the cheapest ticket was like $200. I mean, the black market, there was no game that was more expensive in the NFL last week than Jets-Giants. And that's the product that you got. Wow. Baba Booey to watch you K99 and all your wonderful viewers. Thanks for stopping by, Grandizer. Always good to see you. Stayed full-time, absolutely crazy. Well done, my friend. Well done. Billy SBC, not if Makai gets his doors blown off like he did Thibodeau. Becton on that one sack looked terrible. He allowed 2 pressures all game, which was tied for the lowest on the team, though, out of all 7 offensive linemen. So is Becton perfect? Is he Walter Jones? No, but he's still the team's best option at left tackle. So let's see what happens. But I know this: what they have been doing isn't working. So you got to try something. I'm not saying you live off the play action. But eventually, you have to keep the defense guessing because if they're planning to just stack the box and and to stop Breece Hall, then eventually, you might be able to catch him with that. All right, how about this? Why not like a little dub pass over the blitz to a running back? I felt like we never really saw that, and I feel like teams like the Patriots did that to the Jets relentlessly with the pass rush. Mac Jones just flipping the ball over to Stevenson or whoever else, and then they can take the ball down the field. I feel like the Patriots kind of set the blueprint on how to play on what to do there. So I don't know. I feel like the offensive line with a week. I think I don't know. I guess I have a little bit of faith in Keith Carter as the offensive line coach, trying to adjusting on the fly the way that they did. So you know what? I think the offensive line is going to be a little bit better, but I'll feel a whole lot better once I hear that Joe Tippmann's back. And then if you have to slide Newman or somebody like that over to right guard or Turner at right guard and you keep Max Mitchell at right tackle, fine. You could go with that if that's what it comes to. Harlan Abraham, welcoming the shine to the room. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Let's get into the other two stats. The Chargers have scored 16 points in the second half during their last 4 games. And now, guys, we know the Jets turn it on, especially in the second half with that defense. So that plays perfectly into their hands because the Chargers are getting off to pretty good starts. And then they are not adjusting well, which comes back to their just wonderful head coach in Brandon Staley. And they are averaging just 4 points per game in the second half, or they did during the month of October. Crazy with all that firepower that's all it's been. Grandizer, I got your Rangers video on tap to watch tonight. I dig your NHL content. It rings nostalgia to when I was really into the NHL. Man, thanks so much for saying that. I really, really appreciate it. Yep, for any Rangers fans out there, I did a video breaking down why the Rangers are off to such a good start, 7-2 in the month of October, breaking down some of the reasons for that. Big game for the Rangers tomorrow night against the Carolina Hurricanes at MSG. Yeah, I like doing the NHL content too. It's fun. I really do. I really do enjoy it. All right. Nick, welcoming Harlan right back. And Cam Dicker, 30 of 31 on kicks. That's field goals plus extra points combined. The Jets have been able to take advantage of some bad kicking over the last couple of weeks during this win streak. You can't count on that happening with the San Diego Superchargers. Just wanted an excuse to do that. All right. And his only miss, by the way, was from over 50 yards. So that is just a couple of stats on the Chargers to get you familiar with them. All right, let's get rid of that. So the stats look good. The talent looks good in certain spots for the Chargers, but they're still 3-4. The Chargers, just like they usually are, they look like that classic paper team, which has been the case for years and years. And it's going to take more to convince me that they're on track than a 30-13 beatdown at home of the just woeful Chicago Bears. Okay. So we'll be doing more of a full preview Jets Chargers. I'll probably be posting that Friday. Probably Friday is when I'll post my my game preview for Jets Chargers. So be on the lookout for that. All right, we got one more feature to get into, and then we'll be doing the trivia. Let's do a quick summary on what's going on around the AFC East. So with the Buffalo Bills, they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-18 on Thursday night. The Bills have allowed opponents to score an average of 9.5 fourth quarter points over the last 4 games. That's the 4th most in the NFL. So their defense late in games not doing too well. And these are against teams like the Patriots and the Giants, okay? Not necessarily the Dolphins and the Chiefs we're talking about here. All right? Billy SBC says he thinks another close game is coming up. I think so too. I think this is a 1-score game. Haven't decided for sure where I'm going with it yet. I've got a feeling that I do know where I'm going. But as of right now, I'm expecting about a 6 or 7 point margin. So put it this way, I'm not sure about the over under, but I'm thinking 6-7 points one way. I'll leave it at that for right now. Khalil Shakir, Bills wide receiver, stepping up, 2nd-year receiver against Tampa Bay, had a career game, 6 catches on 6 targets for 92 yards. He is emerging as their new slot wide receiver and played 2/3 of the snaps. All right. And Kair Elam, their rookie cornerback, yikes. He was benched for Josh Norman, who's 35 years old. Wow, Josh Norman playing over last year's first-round draft pick. Not so good. And they've got a huge game this Sunday, the Bills do, at the Cincinnati Bengals, Sunday Night Football. I think that's a slight upgrade from last week's Sunday game, to say the least, with the Chargers and the Bears. Miami, well, they beat New England 31-17. Guys, watch out for this Miami offensive line, and I don't mean that as a compliment to them. All right. At one point Sunday, the Finns were down 4 starters. Teron Armstead, Isaiah Wynn on injured reserve. Connor Williams was active but not playing because of a groin injury. Robert Hunt went out of the game with a hamstring injury. He is expected to return this week. Armstead should be back probably just in time for the Jets game, they're thinking. Of course he will. Of course. But Tua, man, he used play action on, check this out, 38% of dropbacks against the Patriots. And on those 18 pass attempts, Tua completed 14 of them, 189 yards passing. And by the way, the Patriots had not allowed a 100-yard wide receiver this season, and Hill and Waddle both did it. Unbelievable. On Sunday, they combined for 15 catches, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns. And in week 2 against New England in Foxborough, total 9 catches, 126 yards, and 1 touchdown. So they almost doubled their output. It's crazy how this goes. Grandizer, big Dolphins fan, as I recall. Week-to-week league, it sure is. All you had to see was Kansas City against Denver. Why can't Finns win teams? Yeah, with great records. Yeah, the Dolphins, I believe, have not beaten a team with a winning record yet. Yeah, yep. Why are the Bills losing to the Pats? I can make a much better argument for the Pats beating the Bills than I could Denver beating Kansas City. That was just me. Yeah, I was doing really well with my picks. I'd have had a great week, except I put my full confidence on Kansas City beating Denver. That didn't work out so well. Oh, Billy SBC, Herbert, 69% completion rate, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 101 quarterback rating so far. Well, he did. I will say this. He has dealt with a hand injury this year. I have seen him miss some passes. I feel like he's been a little bit more inaccurate, especially without Mike Williams. Yeah, Mike Williams, great talent, but just cannot stay healthy. And he's, of course, he is out for the season with a knee injury. But hey, let's be honest, Billy. The Jets make quarterbacks who are very good to great look ordinary. Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, who's to say that they can't do the same thing to Justin Herbert? Why can't they? Why can't they? I think this defense, I don't want to say playing to its level of competition. I don't know if that's fair, but I think that they realize they did not play quite as well as they could have against the Giants, considering how one-dimensional that Giant offense was last Sunday. I think on national TV, they're going to rattle Herbert's cage a time or two. I've just got a good feeling about it, a real good feeling about this. K Yeti, always at the end, all I need is 24 seconds. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, buddy. And, much as I don't like Jalen Ramsey, credit to him coming back. Allowed 1 catch for 24 yards on 3 targets. And next week, you know what it is, Dolphins-Chiefs, 9:30 in Germany, 9:30 in the morning. God bless the citizens of Germany for getting that game. I'm actually kind of glad that Miami-Kansas City is going to be on a neutral field. I kind of like that. I think it's going to be fun. So, it's going to be one heck of a day of football, along with the 1 o'clock games, the 4 o'clock games. You got Miami-Kansas City as the opener, and then the closer is Bills-Bengals. It's hard to get much better than that. It really, really is. And the Jets get their own spot on Monday as well. So, hey. Grandizer, thank you. Non-Fins fans don't realize the Fins offensive line depth are guys who practice squad, recycle guys really horrible. The drop-off is huge compared to a lot of teams. Well, Grandizer, like I mentioned, I think Armstead's supposed to be back soon, and Hunt should be back this week. So that will definitely be a help for you because you're going to need it, against Kansas City and certainly against the Jets pretty soon. Yep. Yeah, the Jets are going to rattle Herbert. I really, really do. My biggest concern in the game is probably Austin Eckler catching balls out of the backfield as opposed to running the ball. K Yeti, good to see you here. Yep, Harlan, welcome in, Mr. Yeti. All right, and as far as New England goes, well, as we told you, they lost 31-17 to Miami. Mac Jones did his usual thing, 19 of 29 for 161, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, but that pick late in the second quarter, that was bad. That was bad. Patriots down 14-7. They're at the Miami 23. It's the 2-minute warning. 1st and 10. Jalen Ramsey picks off the pass and takes it back 49 yards. Miami goes down for a field goal, and New England never really was quite that in the game again. Never really quite got that close. They never got within 7 points, really. The Pats in that game had 218 total yards, but They also lost some big players. Kendrick Bourne out for the year, ACL injury. Devontae Parker, wide receiver. Juwan Bentley on the defense. He's out. So they lost some players. Next week, they get the Commanders Sunday at 1 o'clock at home. Yuck. Yeah, I think I'm going to be picking New England in that game just because I think Washington's going to be pretty demoralized after losing their pass rushers. All right, let's catch up on the chat for a little bit, and I think after that we'll play a little trivia. All right, you guys okay with that? Good with that? All right. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Okay, Yeti, I was just thinking Zach is kind of like a mid-shift shark. You try and play it off, but you still know something is not quite right. Okay, Yeti, your analogy stinks. but it does work. I get it. I do get it. Grandizer 12. I will rewind your video to see, did you cover if the Jets should have been buyers or sellers yesterday? I did talk about the trade deadline a little bit. And the whole point is I would have loved the wide receiver, but the guys they wanted, the guys that I wanted, simply were not available. So, and again, when you have the limited draft capital that the Jets have for 2024, only 5 picks, and you don't have a first or a second available to trade in 2024 due to the parameters of the Aaron Rodgers trade, that limits what you can trade to another team. I don't think Joe Douglas wanted to use any more assets. I still wish a player-for-player trade would have been out there, but like I said, the Jets did not want Hunter Renfrow. They wanted an outside wide receiver, and Renfrow's subpar, in my mind, slot receiver making $11 million. Jets were not taking that on. Just wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, and, Douglas also said not many offensive linemen to go around. They didn't think Ezra Cleveland was a fit. I would have liked to see them be a buyer, but just because they didn't make a trade doesn't mean Joe Douglas was asleep at the wheel. It's better to make no trade than make the wrong trade. That's my opinion on it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Jets SBC. Jets get to 6-3 over the next 2 weeks and we'll have a real shot at the division lead. Most definitely. Most definitely. Buffalo's schedule is getting a lot harder. Yeah, Miami doesn't have a very easy one, too. And we've seen Miami does struggle when they play physical football teams. Look at Philly, look at Buffalo. I think the Jets are going to give them problems as well. But I told y'all coming out of the Kansas City game when they were 1-3, I wanted 4-1. And at this point, if the Jets wind up going 4-1 in this 5-game stretch where they're already 3-0, I take it. But losing a game to the Chargers or to the Raiders would hurt in playoff tiebreakers. It hurts in conference record. So while I don't want to call them must-wins, I will say they must win one of these next 2 games. I don't think there's any way around it. I think the Raider game is a little bit more winnable, even though the Jets would be playing on the road. I personally think the Raiders have a very good game this week against the Giants with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. I think they play super aggressively. I think this is going to be one of those games, when you get a new coach in football, you play really hard. Look at Frank Reich, for instance. There's all kinds of examples. Jeff Saturday. That's what I was thinking up with the Colts. But, I could see the Raiders having a really good game against the Giants, but then not playing so well against the Jets. That's kind of what I'm thinking. If the Jets do beat the Chargers, and I think it's going to be a close game, man, oh man. And I think 6-3 is a very distinct possibility. And then you get Miami, and you get Miami on the at home, and you get Buffalo on the road. Man, and what an opportunity it could potentially be. And then you start getting Atlanta, you get Houston, you get Washington. The opportunity is there. Now, this team has to play better. We know they have to play better. The way they played the Giants game will not get them to where we want to see them go. That's not going to happen. So I think the Jets coaching staff knows that. They know they didn't do a good enough job last week, coaches or players, and we're going to see what they have Monday night. Billy SBC, the good God, the Raiders are in total disarray. They are on the surface. I actually saw there was an article that just came out on the details of McDaniels getting fired. I'm definitely going to check that out after we get off the air here in a little bit. But yeah, I got a feeling Antonio Pierce is going to be able to rally them. Him and Aiden O'Connell, I just got this weird feeling the Raiders are going to beat the Giants. We'll see. Just my thoughts. Grandizer, I hear you with the Fins versus Kansas City. I go with The fans here in the States and those respective teams' home crowd loses a great game to go to. It's amazing that that's the game that they would have put there. I mean, a marquee game. It's interesting to me they would have it 9:30 in the morning. Could the NFL really want that? Because how high are the ratings going to be on what NFL Network 9:30 in the morning? When people are going to church or doing whatever it is that they do on a Sunday morning. Man, it's amazing that Miami, Kansas City wound up on a Sunday morning. Crazy. I mean, because with the NFL, let's be honest, when you go to Europe, you could give them, you name it. I mean, Cardinals, Buccaneers, and they'll go, right? They don't care. They just want to see the product. Grandizer, that game is bigger than when the Finns played the Eagles. That's why I didn't care about the Eagles game. Accurate. All right, Nick's cooking dinner. He's waiting for trivia. We're coming to it. Yeah, Nick, we're going to get to it, but I want to, wanted to make sure we're caught up on the chat. All right. I'll do one more from Grandizer, and then we'll go ahead and do the question. Okay, that's how we'll do this, and then we'll stay with you guys. We'll stay with the chat. It'll be yours the rest of the way. Grandizer, Adam, man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality, but there is unseen by most an underworld. Hang on a second here. Let's see if I can. I was looking to see if I had a. Let's see. Adam, man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality. There is unseen by most an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side. Happy Halloween. I'm ridiculous, but I'm very aware of it, but I have fun with it. All right, so I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'm going to put a pause on the chat. We're going to go ahead and do what, it wouldn't be a complete show if we didn't do a little bit of trivia. So let's do it right now. Okay, so we're going to do the same rule as always. I'm going to give everybody 5 minutes, and we will set the timer. Just got to remove the comment here. We're going to put the question right here on the board for you, and I will be watching the chat. All right, so 5 minutes. Your question is as follows. In 2002, the Jets defeated the Chargers in San Diego 44-13. Name the two Jets who intercepted Drew Brees in the game. All right. Just need 1 second here. Just gotta load the document up. Just be 1 second here. All right, I'm gonna have to watch it through here. Let's see. Going Sunday. Cool. All right, guys, I'm watching for your comments. Lee Cravat. Yep, it's always Lee Cravat. You know that. Okay. So 2002, yes, the year the Jets won the AFC East. This was one of the games that really turned that season around. Really, really was. All right, let's see. We got Marcus Coleman, Kayetti said. No, I'm afraid not, my friend. Harlan Abraham says James Hasty. Yeah, he was a little bit removed from the scene by that particular point in time. Yeah, he was so far removed that unfortunately I think I've got to give you a. Yeah, afraid not. All right. Hank G says Sean Ellis. Jets Mess says Mo Lewis. David D says Earthwind Moreland. Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. Proud New York Jets. Nick says Abraham and Shotgun Robinson. Nick, could you be more specific, please? Could you be more specific, Nick? Kayetti says Ray Mickens. No. Grandizer, who's the safety from Denver the Jets had then? I don't know if you mean Steve Atwater, but it wouldn't be him. So 02. So this is where Chad broke onto the scene, and Jets started out, I think, the season 1-3. Yeah, it wasn't Steve Atwater. Yeah, all right. So Nick is saying that one of the answers is Donnie Abraham. That is correct. Very well done. Donnie Abraham had one of the 2 interceptions in that game. Yes, he did. Jets Mess, I got to say, very creative guess with Aaron Beasley. You know, Beasley was on the team, but it was not Aaron Beasley. But that was a very, very impressive guess. Matthew Smith, welcome aboard, buddy. Guess is Sauce Gardner. Yes, Sauce Senior. Yes, of course. Yeah, that was a pretty impressive guess by Nick. Yeah, no question about it. Mad props. All right, we've got 2 minutes to go. So Donnie Abraham was 1. Not Damian Robinson, who showed 2 again post 9/11 with weapons in the car. Holy crap. Damian Robinson, yeah, he did not work out so well. Yeah. Another player who was on that team, who was on that Jets team, but is not correct, was Sam Garnes, the old Giant. All right. Grandizer, Pennington was so good, super accurate, deserves so much love. Hate that injuries ruined his career. Hey, you know, that's my guy. I don't know if there will ever be a New York Jet ever who I'm a bigger fan of than Chad Pennington. I don't know if that will ever happen, especially at this point in my life when I've hit 40 now. It's like, you know, it's hard to really embrace any athlete when you're in your 40s and that age and up as you do when you're a kid, when you're in your teens or in your 20s, you know? It's never, I don't think you ever quite idolize a player the same way again. Yeah, I mentioned Sam Garnes. He was also on the team, but it is not Sam Garnes. Matthew Smith, I know the other. I'm just letting other people get it right. Nice try. Kayetti says Jimmy Leonard. No, not Jim Leonard. He didn't come along for another 7 years. I will give you guys one hint. Kayetti says Eric Snow. I thought it was a baseball player. I will give you guys a hint. He was not a defensive back. Think about that. Yeah, Chad was amazing. Proud New York Jets fan says Sam Coward. No, it was not Sam Coward. Oh, we're down about 15 seconds, guys, but I'll let this one go for a little bit longer. I will say this. I had a much more challenging question, and I changed it to this one, something more recent. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, the 5 minutes is up. Grandizer asks us if a defensive end. It is not a defensive end. Nick asks us if it's Marvin Jones. It's not Marvin Jones. This one's a little bit surprising. Chad Cascadden. No, it's not Cascadden. Thought Mo Lewis. Yeah, not quite. James Ferrier. No, he was on his way to Pittsburgh already. And Nick coming in with the hot guess of James, won't you be my darling? He got it. Nick Shine killing it tonight with 2 correct answers. That's right. It was Donnie Abraham. Oh, and no, it wasn't Josh Evans. I'm sorry. That was a different answer. It was James Darling. So, yes. So, well done, gentlemen. Yep, took a few minutes, but you got the question right. So, very, very well done. All right, let's go back. I want to quickly go back up to the comments and see where I left off. Okay, yeah, I think we're right about here. Jets mess. How the hell did the Giants play so well last year? You know, the Giants are not that much different than the Minnesota Vikings when you really think about it. They played a lot of close games, and they pulled out victories against a relatively soft schedule. Relatively soft. But all those one-score games they won last year, they're losing this year. I don't think it's that much more complicated. They didn't really change a whole lot of their roster, did the Giants. I don't know if all these teams were overlooking them or what it was. But you know, it is it is strange. I mean, sometimes it's just the little breaks don't go your way. You take the bad penalty, or this pass falls incomplete, or you miss this one tackle, and that changes the whole game around. Or this last year, you know, the kicker misses the field goal. This year he makes the field goal. It's all kinds of things. But you know, losing Barkley for a period of time certainly didn't help, and their offensive line getting banged up certainly didn't help either. So, because their defense is pretty good, and also Graham Gano. My good, the Giants' special teams stink. The special teams are anemic. They have had muffed punts one after another. Graham Gano has made, I think, 10 out of 16 field goal attempts. So it's like all these like little quiet things that are contributing to these losses. I still think they got a few wins left in them. Nick, that game is all about the international sale, not the American viewers. You could sell them a mediocre game though, too, in my opinion. Harlan Abraham, McDaniel will be able to rebound. New England could always use another coach. Yeah, you leave New England, then you go back unless you're Eric Mangini. That's pretty much the exception to the rule, isn't it? Yeah, Eric is persona non grata in the city of Foxborough. So, did the Yep. The World Series is over, so Texas won 5-0. So the Rangers are the world champions. All right, congratulations to all the Rangers fans I know, which would be none. I don't know any Rangers fans, but good for them. Good for the organization. I wish they had won it back in the day when Josh Hamilton was there, but yeah, good on them for winning the title. Better than a lot of other teams. All right, let's scroll down a little bit and see what else you all have to say tonight. Yeah, Nick was definitely batting 1,000. I don't know what Nick. Nick, let me know what you were cooking. Yeah, what you said you were making dinner? So you're making like an 11 o'clock dinner. What's on the menu, Mr. Shine? Because whatever it was, apparently it was working. Okay. Yeah, Nick wasn't. Yeah, Nick said he wasn't necessarily batting 1,000, but he took the most swings with the bat. That's what he did. Yeah. Love that 2002 team. Yeah, for sure. Finally gave me a chance with the team I love. Yeah, and I was in college at the time. I was in Boston, guys, during that whole season. What a ride it was. What a ride that season was, especially being in Boston during that run. Because I remember the Jets had a really good win over New England that season late in the year. Yeah, so good. So good. Yep, 2 W's in one night. Matthew Smith, yeah, better than the Rangers than the Mets. That's cute. That's cute. Bring on the offseason. I think, Mets fans, Yankees fans alike, I think we're all ready for the offseason to begin. And let's get New York baseball. Let's make New York baseball great again. Let's make it relevant again, for sure. Nick, I didn't eat it all today. Check your text. Barbecue chicken and Caesar dressing. Yes, here it is. But hey, I got a chat to focus on, brother. Can't focus on my text messages. So Nick's sending me a picture here. Okay. Yes, I've seen Nick make this before. So the chicken's sort of like in that sort of like more like a barbecue gravy, like not the actual thick sauce, but where it gets like nice and thin. And he added some Caesar dressing to it as well. So I have actually sampled that before, and I can tell you it tastes really, really good. Yeah, me, I had a little bit of leftover jambalaya. Quite good. Had to add some extra hot sauce though. As cold as it is out there, I needed some heat. I'll tell you that. But I'm thinking Sunday I'll probably spend most of the day here. I'm gonna do some cooking. I'm gonna make wings, and I got a pork roast recipe that with like a pan gravy, so like a pork roast, a sliced pork roast with some vegetables, potatoes, onions, garlic, some carrots. Might throw some Brussels sprouts in, and then the pork roast it actually makes. Then you make a gravy with it. So I'm thinking that's gonna be a really nice Sunday roast to make, and I think that sounds a whole lot of fun. So that's kind of my Sunday menu. All right, let's get back to the chat. Billy SBC, think Brown will get put on the right side somewhere this week if Tittman isn't ready and the Jets have to shuffle things up. I would be surprised if Dwayne Brown is already ready to suit up. I think, put it this way, if between Roger Saffold and Dwayne Brown, between one of them playing, I bet on Saffold. I think I don't want to rush Dwayne Brown into a new position. Dwayne Brown has been a left tackle as long as man has been walking the earth. So I would like to see Brown get at least a week of practice at a new position, and let's figure out what works. Keith Carter's a good offensive line coach, but he's got to do the best coaching job of his life to find a combination of 5 that's going to work. But yeah, the best thing that could possibly happen for the Jets is Joe Tittman be ready to go for this game against Chargers. Nothing can make me happier than to get that news that Joe Tittman will suit up. Because otherwise, you have to play Newman at center pretty much. Because who else is going to play center? Chris Glazer? I mean, Chris Glazer was promoted, but I think he's a guard as best I remember. I'm pretty sure Glazer's a guard exclusively. But who knows? Nick, with the barbecue chicken, throw on some spinach and add shredded cheese. Have a few meals out of it. Sounds good. Eddie, let's knock it the F out this weekend. Lightning bolts aren't a walk in the park. No, they're not. They're 3-4, but it's been proven they can be beaten. They score points, but they have a hideous pass defense. And here's the thing. The Chargers are not running the ball well. The Chargers are averaging between 2 and 3 yards per rush, and that's with Austin Eckler back against the Bears. So I know the Jets defense, run defense in particular, has been lousy, but I think the Jets can match up very well. I mean, even with the Chargers offensive line, you've got Rashawn Slater at left tackle, Zion Johnson at left guard. The other three guys, I mean, not exactly household names here. So I got to do some more in-depth stuff on what the Chargers have to offer on their offensive line. But from what I could see, they have Keenan Allen, very, very good. The thing with Keenan Allen, he likes to play in the slot a lot. They line him up in the slot. So I think Michael Carter, and I briefly alluded to this earlier tonight, I think Michael Carter is going to really be needed to have a big game because we know the Jets are not going to follow him with Sauce or DJ. And then after that, what are we looking at? I mean, Jalen Guyton might be coming back from an ACL injury. He's working his way back. Joshua Palmer, he banged up his knee last week. Gerald Everett, the tight end, was out last week with an injury. He might be back for this game. Donald Parham is a pretty good tight end, but hasn't done a whole lot. You know, he actually did have a touchdown last week. The Chargers actually, with tight ends, they waived Trey McKitty. If you remember Trey McKitty, the Chargers just waived him. So that was some pretty big news coming out of San Diego. I said San Diego. I don't care. So Nick had coffee, took a nap, did Buffalo's show at 7, and the other show at 8. This isn't Nick. Not much about you as normal. I never mentioned the Islanders. I did mention the Islanders. You know, Grandizer, I did do a preseason video talking a little bit about the Rangers, Islanders, and Devils. So I will mention them. Obviously, I am a Rangers fan, but when there's like a big game, when there's a big moment, something big goes on, I'll be sure to mention them. I think I'm pretty sure I talked about when they played a recent game against Colorado. I was talking about the Islanders and Devils last week when the NHL did their Frozen Frenzy, when all 16 teams played at those like staggered start times. So I made sure to talk a little bit about the Devils and Islanders during that time. As far as do I not follow them or really dislike them? Yeah. So I was born in 81. Okay. So I was 3 years old when I would have been 2 years old. Yeah, 2 years old when going on 3 when they won their last Stanley Cup. I honestly don't hate the Islanders. I really don't. I am not a Devil fan. The Devils are the team. I grew up in New Jersey, so the Devils are the team that I really, really loathe. I respect what they did last year. I respect that they have talent on the team. I'm not taking that away. But no, I don't hate the Islanders. I genuinely don't. I have to have selective hate. Of course, I dislike every team that's not my own. The older I get, the more teams I dislike, right? Especially in the NFL. But no, I don't necessarily have it out for the Islanders like I do for the Devils. Hey, how many times have the Islanders really broken the Rangers' hearts in the last 30 years? Not really a whole heck of a lot of times, like regular season games, but not playoff series. It's not like it was in the early 80s, at least in my mind. Harlan Abraham, Glazer could also play center. Hey, let's give it a try. I'm not against it. I'd like to see him get an opportunity. Oh, let's go back up. Grandizer, in regards to the Chargers when lightning strikes, don't tase me, bro. Do you recall that 2007-ish quote? I've heard "Don't tase me, bro," but I don't know of that being a Chargers thing. Maybe it is, but I don't necessarily recall that. A little history coming from Grandizer. Yeah, Grandizer is one of our best historians that you'll find. Jets versus Chargers history: 38 times, 2 postseason games, both Jets victories, by the way. The Jets have won 14. The Chargers have won 23 plus 1 tie. I bet that probably goes back to a lot of the early games, like in the 60s, when I think the Chargers were quite good. I'm actually going to look that up. Because I got to be honest with you, it doesn't feel like the Jets. I feel like it's more competitive than that. Okay, so if we go back, okay, so here's one big reason why. From 1960 to 1965, the Jets beat the Chargers 1 time out of 8, 10. The first 12 times the Jets played the Chargers, the Jets went 1, 10, and 1. So that's a big reason why they've struggled so much. The Jets beat the Chargers in 1962 and then didn't beat them again until 1966. So that's a big reason. Plus, the Jets have actually lost the last 4 times they played to the Chargers. The last time the Jets actually did defeat the Chargers was October of 2011. All right, that's the last time the Jets have beat the Chargers. So it's been 12 years, which is pretty remarkable to think about. So 4 straight defeats. In the 70s, the Islanders couldn't beat the Flyers. Well, and then in 1980, they beat them for their first Stanley Cup. I know that. But in the mid-70s, a lot of teams couldn't beat the Flyers, not until the Montreal Canadiens came along. Oh, by the way, I do want to mention as well, Bobby Knight, rest in peace. Rest in peace, Coach. Job not always perfectly done, but no one can deny his ability to coach and to get the best out of his kids. So I did want to mention rest in peace, Bobby Knight, who passed away earlier today, for sure. All right, chat. Let's see what else y'all have to talk about tonight. Jets mess. Newman can't snap a ball and shotgun to save his life. They're all over the place. Oh, yeah. Remember the one where Zach had to, like, leap up for it? Yeah. But, you know, they said that was another issue with Joe Tippett. That was the real issue with him with the shotgun snaps because he never really had to do it as a Wisconsin Badger. So, hey, however you could snap the ball most reliably. I felt it got better as the game went along. But, yeah, those first 5 or 6 snaps, yeah, they were ugly. Really, really, really ugly. I think after that high snap, he was just extra focused to not snap it high, and he tried to keep it a little bit extra low. But, you know, with a week of practice, hopefully he has a good week of practice. Yeah, that wonderful sports quote. Put it this way, every time you hear somebody say we had a good week of practice, they just got their ass kicked, right? So let's see what he can do with a week. Let's see what, between him, Glazer, let's see what happens. Yeah, Harlan's exactly right. Yeah, the Chargers were a very good team in the 60s. Yeah, no doubt about it. Grandizer. Didn't know you said love one city team but hate the other same city team. I always like the Seinfeld episode where they go to the Devils game. I haven't seen that one in a long time, but yeah, that was really funny. Like they used actual footage from NHL games, which was pretty good. You know, it really depends. I find that because here's the thing with New York. You know, you've got the Knicks and Nets in the same division. You got the Rangers, Devils, and Islanders in the same division. But when it comes to Mets, Yankees, and Giants, Jets, they're in completely separate leagues. So I don't think the hate there necessarily runs quite as deep, except when the two teams play each other. I think the rivalries are a little bit more natural in basketball and hockey because you see them so many more times during the year. Whereas with baseball and football, it's an event. It's an event when the Mets play the Yankees, and it's certainly an event when the Jets play the Giants. So, Harlan, Coach Knight was a great coach. Yes, he definitely was. Yeah, I don't have the video up, but it says, when my time is gone and my activities have come to pass, I want them to bury me upside down and my critics can kiss my ass. And then I remember Mean Gene Okerlund used the exact same quote when he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame many, many, many years later. But yeah, I think that is definitely Bobby Knight. So, A Season on the Brink. That was actually John Feinstein's first sports book, and yeah, it became a big, big hit. One of the biggest selling sports books of all time was A Season on the Brink by John Feinstein. Yeah. True respect to Bobby Knight. Jets had lots of good players. Yeah, there have been a lot of times they've had very good players. Sometimes they've had great players, and sometimes they've had crap. Grandizer, idea for future stream. The all-time best sports rants. Coach Bobby Knight would be there. Oh, we could do that. Yeah, if I could find a way to play the videos, like to present the videos, as long as I could find a way to do that, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, maybe next week I'll do. I've done. You know, what's interesting. I've done countdowns on the past. Now, some of you may remember years ago I was doing something called the Sunday Sports Sermon, and part of that it didn't last long. It lasted a couple weeks, but I would do a top 5 countdown. Maybe I could do like a top 5 or top 10 sports rants or just whatever I could find on YouTube. I guess the one thing is finding you have to clip it up because I can't play like a 15-minute video. I'd have to take like the best little pieces of it. So it would take a little bit of work, but I'm sure I could find something. I could find something pretty good. Grandizer, yep, rants. Yep, I got you, brother. I got you. Okay. Yeah, I could see what I could do. It'll take a little bit of work. Hopefully, I can make the clipping thing work or at least play some audio. But yeah, one way or another, take some work. But I think I could figure out how to do it. Listen. The Iron Sheik. He used to call them the Gin Min. Yeah, the friggin' jabroni, the Jets a mess. You come in the early and just stay in the late. Sheiky baby. Another one we lost recently. We lost a lot of great ones this year. Athletes, entertainers, but certainly pro wrestlers. So many great wrestlers passed away in 2023. Oh, let's got to make sure we're plugged in. I think the plug popped out, guys. There we go. All right, there we go. We're charging up. All right. Billy SBC wants to ask the game score prediction. Before I do that, quick, Nick, real quick, any hockey rants still my favorite of yours? Yes. There hasn't been a whole lot for me to rant about because the Rangers are 7-2. I don't have a lot to rant about right now. I mean, I could rant about the Knicks losing to Cleveland tonight, but I mean, not really worth it. But if the Mets do something that bothers me, I will be doing. I'm sure I will be ranting. We'll see what happens. Game score predictions, Billy. You know what? I haven't really made an official call yet. I am predicting it's going to be a one-score game one way or another. I got to do a little bit more research on the Chargers. I feel like I know the team a little bit, but not well enough, especially when it comes to things like their offensive line, some of the other front seven guys behind Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So I want to get on this a little bit more because, it's weird because you have a talented team, but you have a coach that's widely considered to be horrible. So it's like, what are you really going to see from the Chargers in this game? It's something I really got to look at. And as bad as the Jets offense was, what kind of bounce back will they have? I feel like if you put it this way, if you play Jets Chargers 10 times, you can get 10 completely different outcomes in every single game. That is about the best way. Put it this way. If you're betting on this game, be very, very careful, especially in terms of the outcome. An individual player, yes, but an actual score or outcome, I think it's going to be one of the toughest games of the week to predict. That's how I'm really feeling. Doing a where are they now series for past Jets, Rangers, Mets, Knicks players, just Jets. It's cool to see where they're at. I did a little thing for a little bit called the co-pilots when I was doing the blog. I would mention some different guys, just where they are. Some, particularly with the Jets, some players where they haven't necessarily been talked about. Like I did one for Burgess Owens, who's in Congress now in Utah, the great Jet safety who went on to win a Super Bowl with the Raiders. I think I remember doing a little thing on him. I actually did reach out to see if I could interview him, but I haven't heard back. But he has much bigger issues to deal with trying to help our country than to talk to me, right? So, but that's okay. At least I tried to reach out to Mr. Owens. But yeah, I do think the rants thing. I mean, the where are they now? I don't know if I would make that part of this. I'd probably make it separate. Maybe I'd do like a separate series. Just for some different, just for writing. I think maybe I'd do maybe like 3 of a certain team. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I would make that happen. I don't know. Interesting idea. Just got to format it in a way that makes sense. And of course, something that draws views. Like tonight we did DVOA. I haven't seen folks doing that since Frankie kind of stepped away really from his channel. So I wanted to give you guys some DVOA, give you some of those analytics too. This is the Rangers' rise. Only makes the rant when they fall that much better. Yeah, sadly for you, you didn't get a good Mets rant out of me because there wasn't much to rant about after the second half of the season. By the midway point, I knew they were done. It was over. Are the Chargers still the favorite? Yeah, last I saw Mets, they're 3-point favorites. That's the most recent number I've seen. Is 3 points. Weather forecast for Grandizer: 56 degrees, slight chance of rain, winds at 7 miles per hour. That sounds pretty good to me. I'll take that. Yeah, anything to limit the speed of the Chargers offense, I think that's a pretty good thing. But, I really felt going into the game against the Giants, the biggest thing the Jets were going to have to do to win that game would be to block the Giants defense. And truth be told, they did not do a good job of it. There's reasons why, but they still managed to pull off the win. So, and I think it's going to be a rather similar scenario again for this game. But the whole offensive line, they have to know that they got their asses kicked by the Giants in that game, even though the Jets won. So I mean, come on. Where's your pride at some point, you know? The offensive line, all of them can play better than they did. And let's see what they do against a formidable Chargers team, a team that is desperate to get back in the playoff mix. You know, they beat the Bears on national TV. Now they got another national TV game, but this time on the road against an AFC team. I will say this. I feel a lot better about this game because we are at home and not going to SoFi Stadium. If this game was in LA, I would not have much confidence in the Jets. I'd be really, really worried about it. Not saying they wouldn't win, but I'd be worried about it. The Mets summer was as good as mine, says Nick. That's bad. That's bad. Jets mess seems like it always rains on Jets home games. Yeah, right. Buffalo, it rained. Philly, it rained. The Giants, it rained. Is that it? We had and did it rain during the Patriot game? That's the only other one I think. Did it rain during the Patriot game, guys? For anybody who might have been there. Yes, I hope Newman plays better. If Newman does actually have to play. I'm still not convinced that Newman will be playing in this game. I hope he isn't because that's a pretty good sign Tippmann will be in. But yeah, definitely at least 3 out of 4 home games. It has actually rained at MetLife Stadium. Nick, Chargers really play well going across the country. Hey, you know, get the extra day of rest. Hey, hopefully they're partying nice and hard on Sunday. Let's hope. Take him to the China Club, to the Upper East Side. Take him wherever they need to go, wherever the hip place is. So, yep, 3 points, 3.5 points. The over/under is 40.5. That is right about the total points that I would expect in this game. I think I might go a slight under, but I think 40.5 is right there. If it was 39.5, I would throw my hands up in the air on that one. Yeah, I think 39 to 40 points is pretty much spot on. Yep. Nick went to the Jets-Patriots game courtesy of dum. Okay, so they both went. So yeah, it has rained at every Jets game. Oh, well, maybe when we have that game at home, third to last week of the season. Hey, after we win the division and we have a home game, the sun will be shining brightly that day. You never know. You never know. It could always happen. Okay, guys, it's 11:45. Man, we've gone an hour and 47 minutes almost, and I got to be up at 5 a.m. Got some stuff to do, and plus I'm leaving work early. Got a concert to go to tomorrow night in Virginia Beach that I'm very much looking forward to. So we're going to call this one a night. So to give you a heads up on what's coming up, Thursday, I will be doing my confidence picks. I'm thinking Thursday night, if not, first thing Friday morning. So that will be coming up. Then the Jets-Chargers game preview. Then there will be the 5 bold predictions video. And then, of course, the 3 key plays you may not remember that affected the outcome of the game. So that is all coming up. Jets Mess, thank you so much for the compliment. I really do appreciate it. Grandizer was asking me if a content creator I know from the Chargers wants to do a collab, should I ask them to reach out to you? Grandizer, didn't you ask me about this with the Philly game? Unfortunately, I never heard anything from the Philly guys, so you're more than welcome to, but it's like, I hope I hear from somebody this time. Because you had mentioned to Philly. So, yeah, if Chargers, there's a Chargers person out there, yeah, absolutely. God bless, buddy. I'll see you later. Billy Joel concert? No, I'm in Virginia. No, I'm in Virginia. So if you're a Jim Croce fan, his son AJ is doing a tour performing his dad's songs. So I've been a big Jim Croce fan for a lot of years, and it'll be my first time to get to hear like an actual Croce concert. So I plan on leaving work about 2 hours early to head across the tunnel through the traffic, going from Hampton into Norfolk, and then down to Virginia Beach to enjoy a really cool night of music, and we'll go from there. So I'm really excited. Mess. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah. Oh, Mess is super chatting Nick. Oh, okay. Oh, so it's fine. It's fine. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody coming here tonight, and we will see you back here next Wednesday at 10. Reminder, please tell a friend, and I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair. Have a good night.